Hey everybody, this is Glidercat and it's time to play. Today we're going to start a new Let's Play series on a factory game called Factorization. You can see here I'm at the title screen. There's not much fanfare here and it shows the version is 0.8.13-EA. Now I don't believe this is in early access. I believe it's a fully released game. It's been out for a while. I played it for a couple hours so far and I really like it. I think this may be a hidden gem. So let's start a new game and we'll get into it. There's quite a bit to learn, but we'll learn it together. All right, let's read through the little introduction sequence here. It says, your goal. Guy Moneymaker looks at you intently as he slowly starts to walk around the room. Our goal, he gestures, is clear. He stops to look at you again. We want you to build the first factory on the moon. He starts pacing as he continues. We have invested a lot of money in you because we believe in you. There are many challenges ahead, but we firmly believe you can overcome them all. Small hiccup. Our first and rather inconvenient order of business is that we need to actually get to the moon. We have paid off the best minds that we could find with a cursory Google search, and they all agree we need rockets to do that. So before we can start mining on the moon, for all those untold riches, you need to build us rockets. A lot of rockets. Moon factory. According to my own personal estimates, we need to launch at least 637.765 kilograms of material to start our moon factory. Guy stops and mumbles. Moonery, factoonery? Shaking his head, he continues. To do that, we need you to build us 1,000 rockets. He jerks to a stop. No, wait, I think it's 100 rockets. No, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 100 rockets. I'll check. A lot of rockets in any case. He slowly circles around until he stands face to face with you. Your mission. So your first mission, should you choose to accept it, Guy giggles, I always wanted to say that, is to build us those rockets. He abruptly turns around and aims for the door. As he closes it, he sticks his head back in. Oh, if at all possible, by next week. He flashes a smile and is gone. You are left wondering how on earth you are going to make 100 rockets. All right, so we'll hit start. It's a little intro sequence there, kind of funny. Let's name our factory creatively, like I always do. Glidercat, Let's Play, Season 1. How's that? All right, you need to build a factory that produces the following: 100 rocket. All right, we're going to skip the tutorial, but I think we're going to get some cues along the way, and I'll kind of explore the GUI as we go. I'm going to hit pause here in the top left right off the bat. And let's take a look at what we've got. I'm zooming in here. And it's not the best graphics, but we'll get by with it. So what they've done, they've started us out with a little factory here. And let's go over the machines that are in this little starter factory. We've got small container, Mark 1. And what this container is doing is buying iron ore for us. So in Factorization, in order to get your ores, you have to buy them, and they'll get placed in these containers. And you can set it up. If we click on this and right click, we've got some options. Allow workers to take items out. And there's one of our workers standing here off to the left. Continuously buy. So once this container is exhausted, as long as this is checked, it will automatically purchase more ore for us. So that's what we want. Decommission, I guess, is to remove that from your factory layout. And I'm not sure what copy delegate ID is. I think that might be for scripting. There's some customized scripting you can do in the game. I'm not going to get into that. And then this just tells us what the machine is. Small container, Mark 1. All right. If we look at the pop-up over on the right, we can see it's set to buy 100 iron ore. It's going to cost us 1,039 coins or credits. And right now it's currently filled to 97%, and it's got 97 iron ore. Pretty straightforward. Then we've got belts. We've got a splitter here. The splitters are pretty cool. Let's just look at that real quick. You'll see in the pop-up, it shows output 1, 2, 3. We can configure this, which is awesome. I'll right click here. So output 1, I believe, is the one to the left. So if we're looking at it this way, left would be up top. So I think that's output 1, output 2, output 3. And we can route certain materials out each side, or we can say, hey, just send the overflow off to one side of this splitter. Pretty cool. And then the standard decommission and this delegate ID thing. Okay, so we're bringing iron ore in. We're sending it through a splitter. It's going into 3 of these constructors. And these are all set the same. We can see the recipe says iron ingot. And we can see it's got an inventory right now of 1 iron ore that it's going to turn into an iron ingot. And this constructor has a few different recipes right now that we've unlocked already, that we start out with unlocked ingots, rods, and screws. And there's toggles here to let workers bring items into this factory, take items out of this machine, I guess I should say. Decommission, we can pause the machine. If it's paused, we can restart it. And then we got the standard delegate ID thing. Then all the output from these 3 machines that are producing ingots is getting sent into a merger. The merger I haven't really looked at. Can we configure this? No, nothing to configure on the merger. Takes inputs from 3 sides, dumps it out the last side. And those are being sent to a special container over here. It's another Mark 1 container, but this one is set up to continuously sell. And if you look in the pop-up, it's going to sell iron ingots. So basically, this is just a small little starter money-making factory. We pay for some iron ore, we smelt it into ingots, and then we send it off to be sold for a tiny, tiny profit. This is like the lowest end material that we can buy and make. If you look at the top left, we can see our current bank balance. We've got almost $100,000. And this is how long the game's been running, I guess for 5 seconds before I hit pause. Let's look at a couple more menus, then we'll jump in. If I hit tab, it's going to be our main set of screens we're going to be interacting with. We've got a build tab here. This shows all the machines that we've currently got unlocked. And to start with, we've got belts, which we saw. We got a container we saw. That was where we, or no, we didn't really see this container yet. This is a basic container where we can store anything. We can set up filters for it. Then there's a larger and a larger, medium and large container. These will actually put out items faster. It may say that on here, I'm not sure. But the bigger the container, the faster they will actually output materials. We've got an intersector, Mark 1. You can kind of almost think of this as like a tunnel in shapes. This allows 2 belts to run one over the other in the directions of the arrows. So you can see the icon shows how you want the belts to run. We'll make use of those most likely, just to allow belts to cross over each other. Then we've got constructors. We saw those. They were currently being used to smelt the iron ore into ingots. We've got an assembler Mark II. This one takes 2 inputs and spits out 1 output. We've got a merger. We saw that in action. Splitter. We saw that in action. We've got a worker. We haven't really seen what that guy does yet. So that's all we can build currently. Under research, this is going to show all the different machines and products we can unlock. Right now, we're at tier 1. If you look at the bottom, there's some tabs here at the bottom. Tier 1, we can make iron ingots. We can make iron screws, iron plates, iron frames, and iron rods. You can see these are all unlocked except for the frames. Let's go ahead and unlock those. It's going to cost $3,500, but we've got a bunch, so I'm going to unlock this. And then in this display, it shows how much power these machines use. And then this shows how long does it take to craft if you're at the Mark 1. So the base duration is just the Mark 1 speed of this machine. Power does cost us money. That's why this is relevant. We don't have to generate power, but we do pay for it. And then this shows what the recipe is in order to make an iron plate. 2 iron ingots plus 4 iron screws gets you 1 iron plate. So that's what that's all about. We'll unlock more. We can, since we unlocked the last item here, the iron frames, that's opened up tier 2. So we could take a look here. Copper ingots, copper sheets, copper wire, and rotors. And you can see rotors is pretty complex. We need wire, copper sheets, iron screws, and iron frames in order to make a rotor. Shows us how much the machine costs, the power usage again. And none of these are unlocked. We're probably going to unlock copper. Let's unlock copper. And let's unlock these 2 as well. We'll see. I'm going to unlock these. Copper is where we can make the money. The iron, there's not a whole lot of money to be made. I'm going to unlock these early. We're spending some cash, but that's all right. All right, next is trade. This is where we can buy and sell items. The first thing you do is pick what you want to buy and sell. So in this case, if we want to bring in some iron ore, pick the amount of iron ore we want to bring in. Boom, 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 boom. Again, we can set these up to auto repurchase. And it doesn't appear that there's any discount for buying 10,000 at a time or 1,000 at a time versus 100 at a time. So we'll probably start with these smaller ones. And then same thing on the sell side. We pick the item we want to sell and then pick the quantity we want to sell at a time. And that's what it's going to cost us. Okay, so it's trade. And then my factory gives us an overview of what's going on with our factory. Because the factory is currently 4,800, I think that is the size of the workspace that we can place machines on. And it says we can upgrade our factory to, you know, much bigger here, more than 4 times, it looks like, or maybe exactly 4 times for 50,000 bucks, and we'll have more space to build out our factory. It's showing the net worth of our factory right now of $307,000. That will grow as we, you know, invest in the factory. And that is relevant because how much our factory is worth determines how much we can actually borrow. We're probably going to need to borrow a little money to get moving, because you can leverage these assets as collateral to secure a loan of up to $307,516 with an interest of $27,677, and it's going to be paid back at $186 or coins a second. And then there's a little scroll bar here. If we want to take a loan at a smaller amount, we can do that. We'll probably get into this too. For now, we'll just leave it. We're not going to take any loans. Underneath here, it shows us our electricity usage as we add factories, add machines and things. And then naturally, our expenses. We have to pay for that electricity. And then I think this bottom line must be our wages. So the more workers we have doing things for us, we're going to have to pay for them. And then loans. If we take a loan, there'll be a new line for the loan interest that we're paying. And I think it includes the payments too, actually, the principal and the interest. And they're showing our factory value. Nothing to see there yet. Then we've got our main objective at the bottom here, which is to make and deliver 100 rockets. And we need a special container for that. So I haven't built that yet. It's going to be a while before we get there. I haven't gotten that far yet. So that's those tabs. One more tab I think that's kind of interesting for us to look at, and that is if I hit the P key as in Paul or plan, it's got a built-in planner, which is really quite cool. So basically we pick what we want to make. Let's say we want to make iron frames. Boom. It immediately shows us all the machines or components we're going to need to build iron frames, all laid out here. Shows us how many we're going to need of each machine there at the bottom. Needed. And then up top, if we want to have like a certain amount per minute, if we want 100 per minute, then I think this will update to show us how many machines we need, assuming we're using tier 1. If we want to move up to tier 2 machines, it'll update the calculations. So there's a whole bunch of stuff we can do here. Very, very cool. We'll make use of that. I'm not huge on perfecting my ratios or optimizing things in my factories. I actually prefer to wing it and just adjust as I go. But we may look at some of this stuff. We'll definitely look at the these recipes here that it's showing us. We may not focus too much on the exact ratios, but you can definitely do that if you pick up the game and choose to play it. All right, so let's see. We're going to live in the iron world here for a bit. And what we want to do is work towards making this higher end material here, the iron frames. Let's see what it takes. Iron rods, iron screws, iron plates, and then we get iron frames out of that. We start with the ingots, and we've got a little factory that's kind of smelting ingots for us now. So we need rods, screws, and iron plates to do all this stuff. Yeah, rods, screws, and plates. And then the plates themselves take screws and ingots. And then screws and iron rods just take the ingots themselves. The other thing we want to look at, let me close this. Now we're getting off to a slow start here. When we want to sell stuff, say we wanted to sell iron ingots and we want to sell 100, we're only going to get $2,700 for iron ingots. If we go to iron rods, we'll get $3,800. If we go to iron screws, $1,400. So not much money for those. Plates are a little more complicated. So we get $16,000 for those. So that's a good item for us to be thinking about making and selling. And the iron frames, look at that, $72,100 for every batch of 100 iron frames that we make. And we're going to need that cash, you'll see. So let's set out to build iron frames. One last observation before we get diving into factories. I unlocked the copper tier, so it's showing us the Mark IIs. I'm going to uncheck this box that says highest tier only, so we can see everything. But all these different machines we're going to place, they take materials. So a Mark II splitter takes copper wire and iron plates for us to build. Mark I splitter just takes iron plates. So these are the building materials that we're going to need to kind of stock up on, right? We've got iron plates, iron rods, iron screws, copper wires. I don't see ingots. So ingots don't look like they're a building material. The raw ore isn't a building material, but all of these other things are. So we're going to want to kind of stock up on those so we can keep building machines. Now, when we start the game, we get a nice initial supply. If I hover over this little container here in the top left, you can see they've given us 100 iron frames, 500 iron plates, 300 iron rods, I'm looking off to the right here, and 500 iron screws to get us started on building machines. But we're going to want to replenish this thing with more building materials. This small container, it's showing us it's only filled up to 56%. And we've got 1,400 items in there. So this has some more room for building materials. So we'll keep that in mind. But let's rework this a bit. We know that selling iron ingots is not getting us much money at all. So I'm going to decommission this thing. Let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of these belts. Whoops, I think I need to decommission. Clear belt just takes the resource off the belt. I'm going to decommission this. In fact, I might be able to select, right click. No, this maybe. Well, let me decommission. It does, but let's decommission this stuff. I think you have to select things that are all the same type or something. I'm going to get these set up to decommission. I'm going to hit play. And our little worker here is going to walk over and start taking apart these belts. We want to change this stuff up. He's going to go pretty slow. We can hire in more workers. I'm going to pause here. If I center click, I can duplicate whatever I just picked. So I'm going to get 2 more workers. I think their names will change once I hit play. Yeah. And I'm going to actually upgrade these guys 1 level each. So that costs 1,000. That costs, whoops, I did him twice by accident. 1,000 for him. 1,000 for him. And they'll get them moving a little bit faster. The other thing I'm going to do, once these workers are done working, they'll just kind of stand where they last did a task. We want to put them somewhere out of the way. So I'm going to select a little region over here. Let me zoom in, move over, and we can select an area with the shift left click. I'm going to select an area. Boom. I'm going to right click, make a color here. And then if I pick that area and right click again, I can designate this as a gathering spot. And when my workers are done, they won't hang out at the factory. They'll walk back over to this little area out of the way. All right, so we've got 3 machines smelting. We want to eventually build the iron frames to get us started, hopefully to make some money off of that. Let's do it. Let's start with, let's see what we're going to need. We're going to need rods, 1 factory producing rods. We got a factory producing screws here for the iron frames, probably, or a machine producing screws for that. Plates needs a screw as well. And I happen to know just from my first playthrough that we need a lot of screws. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change things up a little bit here. Go ahead and pause. I'm going to decommission these 2 belts. Can I shift click, control click? Yeah, I can control click. I'm going to decommission those, and I'm going to bring in a new thing of iron ore. 100. Buy that. And I'm going to drop it down right there. I'm going to decommission this belt as well. Let's let our hit play. Let our guys do their thing. So right now we're not making any money. I want to copy one of these guys. Escape out of that. Select it. Center click it. Boom. And then let's build some belts. If we go to the build menu, we're not ready for Mark II, so I'm going to scroll down, find the Mark I belts. Where are they? Oops, uncheck the highest tier only. Mark I belt, I'm going to put that on the hotbar. Boom. Slot 1. And I'll click build. I want this. Basically what I'm going to do is have 2 containers of raw iron ore with 1 container feeding 2 smelters. And we'll have 4 smelters producing iron ore when this is all built out. I'll try to kind of match the pattern they have here. That can go there. Belts this way. And I need one of these splitters. I'm going to get it from the build menu this time just so I can put it on the hotbar. Again, I got to uncheck highest tier. That should probably stay. Okay, where's my splitters? Intersector. Mergers. Here's my splitter Mark I. I'm going to put that on the hotbar. Boom. Slot 2. Build that. Pop it right here. And a worker will grab material out of this storage container and dump it down. All right. Now I've got 4 things, 4 smelters running. I got to pick a recipe for this. Let's do iron ingots. And I'll put this last little section of belt here so it looks consistent. And I'll go back to the planner. We want screws. I'm going to do screws at the top. Let's build. Let's go back into the build menu. Not highest tier. We're going to do the first Mark I's first. And I want a constructor. We're going to make the screws and we're going to make the, we're going to do 2 things of screws. So let's put that on the hotbar, slot 3, build. So this is going to be screws. Boom. And I'm going to do screws down here too. Boom. Don't know if I can pick the recipe yet, if that'll stick or not. Looks like it is. The machines each have their own inventory, by the way, too. As we hover over, we can see there's 26 iron ingots already queued up in the inventory of this machine. I think they each hold 100. Now, what I want to do, I got to think this through for a minute. I think I want to have bus going across the top here. Let's do it. I'm going to put a kind of a bus heading back to our building materials storage container over here. because as we saw like in the build menu, all these machines cost things. I want to send some screws up there just so we always have a supply. Now we're in great shape now. If I hover over, we've got 488 iron screws. I just want the option to do that. So let's put a splitter off of this guy. And as we make screws, we can send some screws up if we want. There's our workers doing their thing. We're not selling anything yet. What could we do? Trying to think of what we could sell. So we're getting screws. Let's do, there's screws down here too, right? Screws. Let's do the other factories. We know we need rods and we need plates, right? How about rods there? Okay, we just got a message. Let me go ahead and click on that up at the top of the screen. Boom. It says all 100 iron ore is used, and it gives me an option to rebuy. That is this little storage container. We haven't set it to automatically repurchase. So let's click that and do refill iron or continuously buy. All right. Okay, so this guy is making screws. This guy is making rods. This guy's making screws, and we're sending some up into storage. Now I'm going to pause this belt right there because we've got a ton of screws in storage already. I just want the option to send them into storage if we want to. We probably want to do that same thing with these other materials here, right? With the rods. So let's think about that. We'll make this our kind of our supply bus for building supplies. This time we're going to have to split out a little bit further, I think. Go out just one, then we'll split. I'm going to copy this guy, split this, and I'm going to send rods up. And let's see how many rods we've got. We've got 292 rods already in storage. So this is more for later than for now. This whole belt. I'll pause this belt and let these guys keep building. So there's our rods. And we've got more screws. So now let's look at the plates, what we need to do for that. We've got rods, we've got screws, we obviously have ingots. Plates take ingots and screws. So plates take ingots and screws. I've got ingots here. I've got screws here. And we're going to need another level machine. One that takes two inputs. That's going to be the assembler. So I can go ahead and put this on the hotbar in slot 4 for now. Build that. I've got a little bit of a mess here. I'll fix it. Let's see though. What do we want? This is going to be, move this back a bit. About right there. Let's fix this mess. We need to hop over a belt here. So let's decommission this one. I need to be able to send these screws straight on through. So let's grab one of those belt intersections. Intersector mark 1. I guess I can put that on the hotbar too. We'll call that 5, slot 5. Build it. And so we want to go rotate this guy like that. Boom. And that's going to allow the screws to go straight on through to our steel plate manufacturing. This one we can unpause for a second. Restart that belt. And then let's pause it one more time. Cool. Now I can see the screws going in. We just need to get a recipe selected here. Iron plates. I think that needs, just double check. Just ingots we need to send in now. We've got that right down here. So let's route the ingots. We're going to need another belt hopper. I got to decommission this in order to place that. There's our workers, getting that out of the way. We want to rotate this like that. And then I want to run my belt up into this machine. About this. Up. In. And then let's extend our bus here of supply materials, because we're going to want to route these plates in there too, or at least have the option to do that. So that'll go there. We'll put our splitter right off of the factory that's making the plates. And we'll send some of those plates up to the main bus, supply bus here. And I'll probably pause. Let's see how many plates do we have in inventory. 433. So we're in good shape there too. I'm just going to pause this belt before we even use it. So now we've got a supply of screws. These screws. Yeah, we've got a supply of screws that are mainly feeding the plate production. And if we want to, we can redirect some of those screws to go into our kind of our building inventory. Right now we've got 506, so we don't need that. So this belt is paused. Next line down, we have just iron ingots being processed. Those are being sent into the iron plate maker. And we're not looking to sell or store these iron ingots. They're not really a building material. Next line down, we have iron rods. Right now we have a route for those to be sent into our little building material storage container, and we haven't made use of those yet. And then down here, we've got another belt full of screws just waiting to be used. So the next machine we want to do is the last one here, the iron frames. We need to send in rods, screws, and plates. So let's do that. Rods, screws, and plates. There's plates. And we need a brand new machine that takes 3 inputs. Let's find out what that's called. Manufacturer. Let's, we can put that on the hotbar too. Slot 6. Build it. And where do we want to do that? We need to be able to route a belt out of this thing. We need to get plates down there, and then we need these rods and we need screws. So if I leave, maybe, I hate to waste a bunch of space here. Screws. Let's see. Got to leave at least one gap somewhere for that belt to snake around. Could do it right here. Or could actually do it right there. Rod screws at the bottom. Let's do that. Let's do it. Bear with me. Just thinking how spaghetti I want this to be. Let's start. Just want it to be easy to understand when I do this, since we're kind of all learning the game here together. I'm going to leave a little space. I'm going to pop it right here. Boom. Let's send in our plates. That's easy. Let's send in our rods. We can... How about we go like this and then go up? And we need screws, so let's do that. Send this over. Up and over. Set a recipe on here for iron frames. It's the only thing we can do. And we probably want to do the same thing. We're going to need iron frames for building materials as we play on. Cash is looking okay, but again, we're not making anything right now. We're not selling anything we're making. So let's put a splitter on the end of this guy with an option to send some of these iron frames up into our storage supply. And then the rest, I think we just want to sell. Should we have a little sale buffer? I don't think we can. So we can store multiple materials here in our storage for the building materials. But I think when it comes to selling, you need a dedicated sales container. So let's go into trade. We'll go to iron frames. Boom. We'll sell for 100. We'll get 72,000 every time we do it. I don't know that we pay for this. Let's keep an eye on the cash. 55,630 roughly. We're paying for power. That's why I think that's decreasing. If I click sell, yeah, I don't know that we pay for this little container. This is going to be our sales output. We could actually do it right down here. Let's do that. This shows that it's got two outputs. I don't think it needs them. Let me try it one more time. To make sure I get the right thing. Trade, sell, frames, sell, rotate this, boom, right there. And then let's run another belt off of this splitter. And we can sell some of these iron frames and get a bunch of cash for it. That last belt didn't place the way I wanted to. Let's hit the delete key, rotate, and place. Okay, our workers are doing their thing, trying to build out the factory. Meanwhile, the machines that are already running, they are stacking up inventory. You can see this guy has 21 iron plates in his inventory already, waiting. And so again, now we've got a factory that's producing screws, rods, and plates. We've got the option to store those off to use for building materials or send those materials into this huge manufacturing building to produce iron frames. And then the iron frames, we've got the option to send those up into building material storage or sell them down here. And we can set this up to continuously sell. So every time this gets up to 100 units, it will automatically sell for us. Just like these two guys with the iron ore are automatically buying more ore. This will automatically sell that product. I'm not sure why looks like there's outputs here. I don't know that you can actually output from one of these, but maybe. All right, we'll let our workers do their thing. Let's move on to the next item, which is going to be copper. In fact, why don't we wrap this episode here? We got our initial start. We kind of took a look at the different menus and things in the game. There is a help here, which is pretty extensive. Walks you through trading, building, some of the stuff that we've already kind of looked at. There are blueprints in the game. We may get into this. I'm not actually huge on blueprints. We'll see. I don't like cutting and pasting factories together, but if we need to, we'll do it. Planning, we saw all that. We saw merging, splitting, and intersections where you can hop over a belt. A bunch of other stuff here. But let's wrap this first episode here. And we will get back to... we'll start working on copper next episode. For now, this is Glidercat saying thanks so much for watching. Again, this is a game called Factorization. It's been out for a while. I played it for a couple hours before starting this series, and I really like it. So happy to share it with you. Hopefully you enjoy this series, and I will see you all in the next episode.